Hello, Bhawk Kids. Pastor Kevin here. I want to let you know I have been praying for you guys, and as you've been doing church at home and school at home, I want you to know that I am thinking about you and praying for you. And one of the ways our kids ministry, Bhawk Kids, wanted to show you that is we gave you the chance to ask Pastor Kevin some questions, and so I want to answer a couple of those today. So the first one, let's see, I've got them here. Blake asked, "What is your favorite book of the Bible?" And people make fun of me a lot, Blake, because every time I preach, I always say, "This is my favorite passage or my favorite book." And the truth is, I just like the whole Bible. And I'll often joke, I'll say, "This is one of my favorite 66 books of the Bible." And there are 66 books, so that means I really like them all. But I really love the ministry of Jesus and learning about how Jesus did things. And so the Gospel of John in the New Testament is a place I usually recommend for people to start sometimes when they're just starting to read the Bible, because it talks all about the life, the ministry, the death, and the resurrection of Jesus. So John's probably at the top of my list. And another of my favorite books, especially for troubling times, kind of like these, is the book of Philippians that Paul wrote. So there's a couple, John, Philippians, but really, I like them all. And so let's see. Next question is from Silas. Silas says, "I know that God is holy, and when I go to heaven, I won't sin anymore." That is right. But what does heaven look like? And that is such an awesome question. And this is for you, Silas, and for all of the adults and all of us listening, that I believe in Christianity today, we spend way too much time oftentimes on death and not near enough time on heaven. Because really, heaven is just so big of a portion of eternity, and life and death in this life is just a tiny little speck. And Silas, the Bible tells us that no eye has seen, no ear has heard. We can't even begin to comprehend. We can't even begin to understand all that God has planned for us as His children. So those who have followed Jesus and been saved by Jesus, we have no idea all that heaven holds. But the Bible does tell us a lot about heaven. In Revelation chapters 20 and 21, there's a big description of heaven, talks about all these precious stones, there's streets of pure gold, there's all these gates. But as much as we can't understand a lot of times and see it with our eyes right now, one day we will see it, and boy, that's going to be a great day. What heaven is a place of no mores. A place of no mores. Like you said in your question, it's a place where we won't sin anymore, but it's a place where there's no more death, there's no more pain, there's no more pandemics, there's no more COVID-19s, there's no more sicknesses, there's no more illnesses, there's no more losing people, there's no more hatred. Everybody just loves Jesus, will worship Him together forever there. But I believe it's so much more than us just sitting in the clouds and worshiping. I think it's going to be having conversations with Jesus and people who have gone before us and getting to know all the answers to the questions that maybe we wish we knew right now. We'll get to know all of those things. And so heaven is a place of no mores. It's no more tears, no more pain, no more sadness, no more sorrow. And then everything, it's a place of everything. Everything that you've looked for, everything you've longed for, everything that eternity could ever offer you is that and then some. It's kind of like your greatest trip that you could ever want to plan. If it's Disneyland or whatever it might be, and all the greatest things you can imagine, it's that times millions and millions and millions. We can't even begin to understand what God has in store for all of us who love Him. I'm glad we get to go there together because we know Jesus, Silas, and I'm glad you know Jesus. And so that's our job now, is to help other people be able to go there with us because they trust Jesus. So great stuff there. Blake, Silas, and then this is just a kind of a comment from a lot of parents, and a lot of kids have asked, why would God allow this pandemic is the question. And parents, if you want a little digging deeper on that, go to the adult section of our Church Online page. I'm doing digging deeper and spending a lot of time on this, actually. But for all of us Bhawk Kids right now, I want you to know that God didn't choose pain. It wasn't in God's plan for there to be pain, for there to be pandemic, for there to be sin, for there to be bad things. But God chose to let us choose. God chose to let us choose our own way. He didn't want to create robots that would love Him because He made them. He created people and gave them a free will, a choice. And unfortunately, the first people, Adam and Eve, chose sin. And even though God didn't choose that, He allowed them to choose, and they chose to sin. And when sin entered the world, so did pain. And it's like sin held the door open, and death and pain and pandemic and sickness and all of these bad things entered the world. So that's how it all started. So God didn't choose it, but God does redeem our pain. And what I mean by He redeems is that He takes something bad and makes something good. He redeems our pain. There's no message that we can share without the mess sometimes in life. And God even uses the things that the enemy and maybe somebody else in your life means for bad. He uses them for good. Romans 8:28, all things work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to His purpose. And God one day is going to get rid of the pain, though. We just talked about heaven. That's the beauty, is even though God didn't choose it, but He allowed us to choose, and He redeems our pain, He makes good out of bad things. God's one day going to purge pain. He's going to get rid of pain. It's going to be no more. Heaven's a place of no mores where pain's going to go away. So God started it with that in mind, His perfect creation, and He's going to return it to that one day. He's going to make everything right. And, God's plan for heaven and plan for us is so much bigger and better than all of the pain of this life. Romans 8:18 says, I consider that the sufferings of this present time are not worth comparing to the glory that is to be revealed to us. Jesus said in John 16:33, these things I'm speaking to you, so in me you can have peace. In the world you will have trouble, tribulation, pain, pandemic, He's saying. In the world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. Great questions, Bhawk Kids. I hope I helped give a little bit of wisdom and encouragement and inspiration to you. You're doing a great job. Keep up your schoolwork. Keep up your digging into your church online with Bhawk Kids. We love you, and I can't wait to talk to you again soon. See ya.